Hello and welcome to today's Garden Center Town Hall presentation, AI in the Garden Industry from Inspiration to Implementation with Edward Meyer. Edwin is an international speaker and entrepreneur specializing in practical applications of artificial intelligence and digitalization, for the garden and horticulture industry. With a background in online marketing dating back to 2002, he has worked with entrepreneurs in the garden industry across 9 countries, helping businesses understand how technology can be translated into real-world results. He regularly shares his expertise in webinars, editorials, podcasts, and industry presentations for organizations including garden retail associations and horticultural media platforms in Europe and North America. Edwin, please take it away.
Thank you very much. Oh, what a introduction. Thank you. That was spot on and too much taps on my shoulder, I guess. So let me share my screen and then we get started. AI in the garden industry. Well, there's a lot to do about AI, so we have plenty of topics to cover. But let's go back, well, about 120 years, because what happens if you're standing on the street, early 1900s, you're used to horses and carriages, and suddenly this guy comes around the corner. You might feel excited, you might feel unsettled. Is it safe to use this kind of device? Some people are very excited about it. People are asking questions, how to behave with these things, what are the rules, how fast can it go, do we need to regulate this? People are scared, we need to ban these things. So why do you need a cart if you have a horse? So people and society in general have to adapt to a new situation. And today, it's not different because we're in the same moment again. Only now we're not looking at the street, but we're looking at a screen, a device with AI. And just like 120 years ago, when the first cars hit the street, we have to rethink a lot of things. And it's not just the technology we have to rethink. We also need to think about how it impacts organizations, people working for us, customers, businesses, the way we make our money. And of course, we need regulation. So we're going to talk about it in the upcoming hour. Good to know. If you want to have a copy of the presentation, just send me a message on LinkedIn. No secrets. I'm happy to share all the prompts, all the samples, all the links. And the best way to get started with AI, from my perspective, is to do it, learning by doing. So if you ask me what course did you follow? Well, nothing. I just tried a lot of things and I figured out how to use AI in a garden industry setting. Some background. I'm the founder of Garden Connect, started the company in 2002 with 2 friends. 21 years later, after the big growth of COVID, we were fortunate enough to sell it to a company from Germany called Green Solutions. That's almost 3 years ago. So yeah, it's time for a new adventure. And the adventure starts actually in Canada in September. So we're working on a new company and we're going to launch it in September 26 in Canada because there's a big event for us over there. And the reason how I stumbled upon AI, I always get bored every other year. I just want to try new things. I like to do that. As you all know, the garden industry is a bit conservative. Well, I'm not. I always want to know things. I'm curious. I want to try things. I'm fortunate to be in the position where I can try things and play around for a few days with new technology. And once I figured out how AI worked, I was really, really excited. I started with the T-Fort. And the reason why I started with the T-Fort is that a lot of people don't really understand the impact of AI on society. But let's go back even further in time. Let's go back 250 years. 1771, the Industrial Revolution started in the UK. What was invented? Well, 2 things, kennels and the water mill. And with the water mill, you could create some kind of simplistic factory. That was the first technological revolution. And every single technical revolution started with an eruption, with the Big Bang. Suddenly, someone thinks, hey, this is the next big thing. Then everyone starts to invest all their money in that big thing. And then, obviously, the bubble bursts. And everyone thinks, this is the end. I told you it didn't work. It was too good to be true. But on the foundations of the bubble, new companies arise and the technology enters the maturity phase. And then a new technology comes 50 years later. Age of steam, railways started in the UK, then to North America. Same story. Everyone thought this is the next big thing. We're going to grow infinite and all the money is going there. However, 50 years later, well, first of all, the bubble burst and then a new technology comes up. The next technology, electricity engineering. 50 years later, there we are, the fourth technological revolution, automobiles. Henry Ford invented the car factory. And that resulted partially in the US stock mania. And we all know from history books, the collapse was sudden, it was deep, it was heavy, with a lot of trouble in the 20 years thereafter. But eventually, we're all pretty happy we have cars these days. Now, 1971, Big Bang, fifth technological revolution, IBM invents the microprocessor. Why is that important? Without a processor, we didn't have Zoom, we couldn't talk, we wouldn't have iPhones. And in all fairness, we wouldn't have cars because your car is packed with processors these days. It also means that if every about approximately 50 years a new technology erupts, 1971, 50 years later, that's, well, maybe today. Or maybe it was 2022 when ChatGPT went live. So if you look back at technological revolutions, AI could be a really big thing, could shape society in a way we can't really imagine today. If you talk about the Big Bang, it took Spotify 11 years to get up to 100 million users. It took ChatGPT, the moment it went live, November 2022, 2 months. So before Christmas, they reached that milestone. And I appreciate we all have mobile phones, so technology is more accessible than 10 years ago. But still, within 2 months, 100 million users. That's what I would call a big bang. It's the spark. AI is here. But what is AI? Well, I'm not going to read out all the slides today, but I have to read out this one. What is AI? AI is a technology that enables computers to learn from data and perform tasks within a context that usually require human intelligence, like recognizing patterns or making decisions. And there are 2 things you need to remember from this presentation. You can forget most things, but patterns and context is important because often when I'm in a meeting room and I ask for the next logical answer and then start with A, B, most people say C, makes sense, because that's the most logical pattern. But if the context is music, we obviously get ABBA, the British-Swedish band. They won the Song Festival a few times. So a pattern without context is useless, which means that if you ask a question without context to an AI model, an AI system, you get an answer that won't work. Is AI new? Well, no, not really. Alan Turing, the famous British scientist, asked the question, can machines think? That's a good question. That's more like a philosophy course. We're not going to jump into that loophole, but it's a good question. So the AI term itself was used in 1956. 65, sorry about it. No, 56, sorry. It's Friday afternoon for me. It was used in 1956 for the first time, and some concepts were trialed, but it took a long time before you could really use an AI tool. And with that, I mean something useful. Now, in the 90s, some of you might remember we had Deep Blue, the IBM computer. And I remember it as a kid that Deep Blue was beating Garry Kasparov, the grand chess master from Russia, with chess. And often when I show this photo, people are looking at the screen and say, oh, is that Deep Blue? No, well, that's the screen. Deep Blue is everything you see behind. So it's the black box and all the computers behind it. That's That's Deep Blue. So you needed all that computer, all that hardware and equipment to play chess. And now we have live connection with the entire world with our phone. So AI is not new, but in our day of age, it's simply extremely accessible. Often when I give a presentation about AI, people start to debate AI models with me. And I think ChatGPT is the most well-known one. Also the first one. We have Llama from Facebook. IBM is still around after all these years. IBM Watson. Grok. We have DeepSeek from China. We have Claude Anthropic. They had some controversy a few weeks ago, as you remember. We have Gemini from Google. In Europe, we have Mistral. I think it's primarily French, but it's a European product. I don't know anyone who's using it, to be honest. And I'll also be frank with you. The things I'm going to show you today can be done with, I would say, almost all these models. IBM Watson is the outlier because that's a corporate thing. But I don't care if you use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or anything. If you have a Gmail account, a paid Gmail account, you probably use Gemini. It's fine. It does the job. There's one thing you have to understand about AI models. They're often called large language models. Now, with that, it means that they're trained with data and often your data. So if you're using a free account, don't upload any sensitive data to it. If I were you, I would always upgrade to a paid account for two reasons. You often get access to better and more powerful versions of the AI tool. And it ensures that your data is kept secure. So if you upload information to a free account, well, if it's free, you're the product. So they use it to train their tools. If you pay for it, then your data is not used to share or to train the model, to improve the model. Now, often people ask me, but how does information end up in an AI model? Now, let's say you have a paid account. You create a document with AI, you do some editing in Word or whatever you do, and you send it to someone with a free Gmail account. Now, it depends a little bit on the location and settings, but if it's free, you're the product. So if you use a free Gmail account, it's pretty likely that Google is using the emails and attachment in your free account to train AI models. So you can do everything well. If you send the email to a free Gmail account, it still ends up in an AI model, which means it's pretty hard, or I would say almost impossible, to keep information out of an AI model. Now, how do AI models work technically? Well, they're based on neural networks. So you ask a question, that's the input. Then the model breaks down the input in little particles, little components. And within that hidden layer, it tries to identify patterns and explores options. Is this a logical option, or do I have a more logical option? And eventually it gives an output. So the hidden layer combines the input and translates it into something useful. And the output can be a text, an image, or a video. Now, often when I end up on this slide, people are wondering, hey, Ed, we're talking about T-Ford, we're talking about technological revolutions, we're talking about neural networks. I have a garden center. What on earth should I do? Well, good question. Are we still awake? Well, hopefully, yes. So why am I sharing this information? Well, AI is not magic. It's built by humans. And it means that input equals output. And the AI model is making decisions partially influenced by humans. I'll give you a very interesting example of that at the end of the presentation. Why is this important? Bad input leads to bad output. That's the second thing you have to remember. So if you're in a hurry, two things: patterns and context. That's the first thing. Bad input, bad output. That's the second thing you have to remember from today's session. And why is this important? Well, let's go to the Garden Center and I'll show you the problem. This is a conversation most of you have had in the Garden Center. People ask you from a random plant, hey, is this a good plant for me? How should you know? what kind of house do you have? If it's a house plant, are you going to put it I said it in a window? Do you want to have it in a living room, in the bathroom? How do you know? You need more information before you can answer the question. Now imagine you go to an AI model and you say, I think this is a ficus. I'm not sure. I think it's a ficus. If you ask the AI model, is a ficus a good plant? The model will say something, but yeah, it's pretty likely the answer is not related and helpful for you. So you need to understand that you need to ask a good question, then the AI model will give you a good answer. So one of the things I'm going to explain to you today is how to create a good question. So what are we going to do? First of all, product photos, because we're in a very visual industry. I'm going to show you how to create text, some tips for prompt engineering, social media. We have some music, AI agents, video. I'm going to help you to review, to analyze your online reviews and perhaps some more things as well. And this is one of my favorite plants, the Spathiphyllum or the peace lily. Why? It's easy to keep. So yeah, I have one for like 10 years. I just like it because it never dies. On the left is what you sell. On the right is what I want. And there's a gap between the two. And often if I go to a web shop of a garden center or a nursery, I do see the photo on the left. So it's it makes sense because this is what you sell. It's a photo of a plant in a grower spot. Well, the grower spot is waste, and I'm not really in the market for a plant. I just want to cheer up a boring corner of my living room. So you need to show me the experience, as you can see on the right. How can you do this? Well, we have some issues if we want to generate a photo like this. First, we need to decide on the pot. Then you need to create a photo of the plant, and you need to combine those two. The good thing with most tools these days, like ChatGPT, if you have a photo of the plant in a grower spot, you can just ask for a different style, a tweak, or whatsoever. If you want to be a little bit more creative, ChatGPT isn't the best option. You can go to Mocker or Creatify. If you don't have a photo of a plant, well, then it's a bit more challenging. The Spathiphyllum itself is easy to generate because it's a very well-known plant. But I'm working on plant photos a lot, and generating a cultivar realistic plant photo is with ChatGPT, I would say it's impossible, unless it's a very well-known plant. So these models are good at a lot of things, but not at everything. Now, once you understand this trick, however, if you have the photo of the plant already, you're not relying on photos of your Dutch suppliers anymore. Because I know many of you have Dutch suppliers, especially for the hardware. So what you can do, this is the Spathiphyllum, and this is just my ChatGPT screen, and the prompt is very easy. I'm going to show you a better way of doing this in a minute. So put this plant in a modern pot, check, with the Canadian flag pattern, put it in a very Canadian home. Well, it did the job. And as you can see, it didn't change the plant, and that's essential. Sometimes it changes the plant. In that case, you have to say, do not change the plant. And a lot of people often, I'll show you the large version too, by the way. So a lot of people often spot small changes on the input photo. And what works really well with AI models is that you ask them what you want, and you also tell them what you don't want. So in this case, it was a one shot and it worked. But sometimes, well, for example, if it changes the colors of the flowers, you should say, put this plant in a modern pot with a Canadian flag pattern, put it in a very Canadian home. Check, I get it, all the maple leaves. Do not change the color or shape of the flower or of the plant. So if you ask an AI model what you do want and what you don't want, then you should be good. Another example, I know some Canadian garden centers are selling pots from Elo or Capi, so let's look at this one. It's the same problem. We're looking at the product. To be honest, I don't care about the pot. I want something nice that looks nice in my living room. But we start with the pot. Now, if you have a pot, you need a plant. So let's take the Howea forsteriana. I'm not very good at Latin, but these ones are manageable for me. So let's put these one in the pot. Now, if you have these two photos and you ask instantly to put it together in a living room in Canada or somewhere else, then the AI model has to make two decisions, and it works best first to make this combination. Put the plant in a pot with some soil on it, and then once you have this one, you can do the same thing in ChatGPT and ask to put it in a modern living room, for example, like this. So then the two-step version is better because then you can control everything, and the AI model has to do less guesswork. I don't see any questions yet. Feel free to ask them because I'm here to help you guys. And yeah, if you're wondering about things, let me know. Well, Landscape Ontario, so it's not only about garden centers. And I'm sure you recognize the situation where a customer comes to you and say, hey, well, you're a landscaper. This is my garden. Help me. Okay, that's a good question. And what you would normally do is to walk around, say, oh yeah, you could put an acer here and some shrubs there or buxus or whatever. So you give suggestions to people, or even worse, you spend a few hours on a very bespoke design. Next week, the customer comes to you, looks at it, nah, I don't like it. So how are you going to make a boring garden less boring? Now, the tip I have for you to get this done, but also to get other things done, is to not to use this photo and create a prompt. No, we're going to ask ChatGPT to create the prompt. And with that, I mean, if you write the prompt yourself, that's what most people do. Make this garden less boring, put some flowering plants in it, blah, blah. You often forget things, which makes sense because there's an endless amount of information you can include in a prompt. What I always do is that I go to ChatGPT, I tell ChatGPT what I want. I want to change the garden on a photo. I want to make it a very vibrant garden, low maintenance. Can you write the prompt for me? And then ChatGPT will give me the prompt, and I can check that prompt, and then I can use that prompt to generate the photo. So it's a two-step process. Most people try to cut corners to say, oh, create a nice garden. Good work, but it's a long shot. If you make it a two-step process, first you ask ChatGPT to create a prompt, and then you use the prompt. That often works better, gives you much more control of the outcome. So how that works, on the left-hand side, you can see the prompt ChatGPT generated for me. So create a naturalistic, bee-friendly Canadian garden. Well, you can read it. And I asked to include the things that should not change, like the fence, for example. You can't change the fence because it's pretty new. You can't change the trees in the background. You can't change the house of the neighbors. So these things are fixed, and within all these fixed things, ChatGPT generated the prompt. And based on the prompt, the garden was designed. Well, it looks pretty nice. I also think so. A bit unrealistic, too many plants. So you can just alter it a bit. For example, typical North American woodland style, you get something like this. So you can play around as much as you want. And one thing I found odd on this one is that we have 4 tall trees in the back. Well, maybe you want to have 1 tall tree only. Then you can just change the prompt and recycle it again. Now, I told this story, well, I'm telling this story like 20 times a year. And I think it was a year and a half ago that I was talking to Pacific Rim. They make brackets. I think it's the company name is Pacific Rim Brackets. At first, I didn't really understood what they were doing, but eventually I got it. So they had the issue that they wanted to renew their catalog and their website, and they were having challenges with their photography. So I explained them how to put their products into real life situations. And if you go to their website, it looks like this today. If you open the catalog, it looks, well, you see those photos. All the photos are 100% AI generated. Some are obvious. I think the one on the left, for example, with the I think it's a rose. That's a bit too fake. The one with the trees on the wall, hard to guess. Hard to guess. So it really works. And if you don't believe me, you can ask Sam. Well, I don't think you can ask Sam, by the way, but you can ask his successors why. Walmart is using generative AI for a few years now, and they have 850 million pieces of data in their catalog, and they use that to generate AI, text. Well, what would be the outcome? And I know saying Walmart is always a bit, yeah, I don't know how to say it. It's not even sensitive. Most of you just dislike it. I get it. I've been there myself. I understand why you don't like it. Oh, sorry, I got a question in between. Do you have a particular program that you prefer? ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, or Claude? No, there's no. uh, If you have nothing, go to ChatGPT. Uh, but most of you, if you're in a Microsoft environment, you have Copilot. I'm a Google person, so I often go to Gemini. But I also do some coding, and for coding, Claude is very good. But if you don't have anything, just go to ChatGPT. That's the job. Easiest way to get started. Now, why am I bringing up Walmart in the presentation for independent gardeners? Easy. Walmart is generating a lot of text on their website. If you look at the descriptions of the Spatifilum, well, people need to understand what they're buying. So if you buy a plant, you need to look after it. Is it pet friendly? I got young kids, so is it child friendly? I don't know. And obviously for your Google rankings, text are important too. However, despite that, the average Peace Lily text is very short. So Dutch nurseries, 35 words. Sheridan nursery, 44 words. Bluegrass, 14 words. Hey, Walmart, almost 400 words about the peace lily on their website. And I was intrigued by this because most of you don't like Walmart. I visited some Walmart, yeah, they call it the garden center, but it's more like the plant aisle. Um, there's a reason why independents don't like it. People should go to an independent garden center for the knowledge to buy plants. However, if you look online, Walmart is the expert, the independent isn't. Check. So we have some work to do. So let's go to ChatGPT to make a text. Okay. Well, if you remember, input equals output. We need to ask a good question, and then we will get good output. So we cannot just go to ChatGPT and ask a text about the Spatifilum. That will go horribly wrong. If you create a prompt, and what you can do, by the way, is to make a screenshot of this slide and put that in your ChatGPT and ask a prompt. We need to define a task. What do we want to achieve? Step one. Remember with the photos, I said I'm using a tool to generate photos. Give me the prompt. That's a clear goal. We need to give context. So what's the context? Where are we? You can include examples. I'll show you in a minute how to do that. You need to be a persona. You're an experienced horticulturalist working for an independent garden center. You can provide the format, so the bullet points, the paragraphs, the summaries, and you can include a tone. Now, to start with the latter one, if you say write very enthusiastic, you get a very enthusiastic text. However, it's like your local car dealer is going to sell you a Spatifilum plant. It just doesn't resonate well. I would never say enthusiastic or something like that. Usually the tone of voice most people want in a business environment is friendly yet professional or something like that. So try to avoid professional, because then it's like you're the head gardener of the RHS or something like that. So don't make it too serious, but friendly yet professional is often a pretty neutral tone. Now, this is the prompt ChatGPT gave me. And as I said, I always go to ChatGPT to generate the prompt, and then I'm going to change the prompt. So what you see, generate the product description for online garden center based in the UK. I mentioned the hardiness zone for the context. With Spatifilum, it's not relevant, but you can also generate text for outdoor plants. well, you're a warm, approachable person, and then you can see the text format. So the title, and then I want to have ideal growing conditions, care tips, and why choose, and then by the plant name in Abbotsford, BC, whatever. And then we have the tone of voice. This is just an example. Some people really like to copy paste things. Feel free, but I would always ask ChatGPT to generate the prompt based on this slide. That works much better. Once you have that one, you can also feed it some text you already created. So if you have sample text, just feed it into your ChatGPT account. And if you click on the paperclip, you can see over here on the plus icon, you can include that. Why is that important? Often when I talk to people about text generation and AI, they say, "Yeah, I like it, but I have to change all these things." So yeah, it's good to change things, but then save the changed version, upload that next time you generate a text, because then your ChatGPT can replicate the words, the structure, the language you're using. I got a question from Megan. An ongoing struggle is getting a product photo with a plain neutral background on our property in order to make it easier to work with in AI. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't care about it. Just look at the photo and tell AI to ignore the background. Simple. Should work. So now we have an example of a text, and then we can generate a new one. And yeah, I specifically mentioned the subtitle, ideal growing conditions, and you can see the ideal growing condition for a peace lily over here. Easy as that. Then there's always the concern, plagiarism, which is a horrible word for a Dutchman, but you get the point. Some people think that if you generate the text with AI, that AI is copy pasting information from other websites, but that's not what it does. It learns what other websites are writing about topics. That's correct, but it especially tries to identify patterns of words, patterns of letters, of context. So it tries to replicate that, but it never copy pastes it. So if you generate a text with AI the right way, it should say it's, well, not AI written up to a certain degree. So if you do it properly, it will say it's human written content, and that's what we want. Now, there's one thing you have to be aware of, and that's that AI tools really want to help you. And with that, I mean, they want to help you extremely well. In fact, if they don't know something, they're going to make up information. Let's call it, fake facts. They're going to throw it to you, and that's a hallucination. So ChatGPT, but all the other tools are well known to hallucinate, especially if you talk about plants. Some things can be fixed with context, but not everything. So it's not, especially if you deal with plants, it's not an autopilot tool. And I've been creating hundreds or thousands of plant tags. So yeah, you always need to read it. You need to check it. So you're still responsible. And some people say, "Oh yeah, but Edwin, you can fix that by saying do not hallucinate or do not add things you don't know, you're not 100% sure of." That's part of the solution, but eventually with plants, it's just hard to generate a factual text. I'll be honest about it. It's not the holy grail. However, if you just want to write a blog post about 7 house plants to buy this year or something like that, that works fine. Just check it and it's fine. But yeah, for a large data set on a web shop, it's extremely hard to do that with AI. It will just cost you a lot of time. That's a lot of honesty, I guess. Okay, we have a text for the website. Now, let's put it on socials as well. And I appreciate them showing a screenshot from Facebook, and I've been accused of getting old by someone who saw this screenshot. So yeah, that wasn't a compliment, but it was very, very Dutch, straightforward. What you can do, write a fun and engaging social media post from a garden center in, well, London or Hamilton or Toronto, wherever you are in Ontario. use a casual, upbeat, and conversational tone. Include 3 trendy hashtags. This is a prompt that was generated by ChatGPT as well. Feel free to change it, obviously. But yeah, then you have your social media post ready too. Now, whenever we talk about ChatGPT, most people are referring to the standard chat. So you open the screen and you ask the question. Makes sense. However, you can go a lot quicker if you go to the custom GPT. So I told you you can create a prompt with the persona, with examples, with context, with the task, and so on. Now, let's say you have a blog post creator and you create a prompt for that. You create a prompt for that, and you don't want to copy that prompt into ChatGPT, upload the examples all the time. That's where the custom GPT comes in. So custom GPT, you upload the prompt, all the source files, and then you only have to ask a question. So it saves you a lot of time, and even better, once you have your custom GPT, you can send a link to a coworker, and they can use the exact prompt and the exact set of examples. The third option is a project. To give you a simple example of that, when we sold our company, we were getting a lot of documents from the lawyers. I'll put them in a project on ChatGPT, so I could ask questions about those documents. And the good thing about projects is that you don't have to go back to the previous conversation. You can just start a new one, and it will remember all the previous conversations within that project. Because we all have been in a situation where we had a very long chat history within the standard chat, and you need to look it up, and then it gets lost and so on. While with projects, it's much better organized. For example, custom GPT, I made this as a proof of concept for TerraLink. So I uploaded all the TerraLink technical documentation, and yeah, people from TerraLink could use this for the customer support. So what's the best fertilizer for tomatoes? Well, I don't have to explain it to you, obviously. But it was trained to mention all the TerraLink products and to explain why it was good to use it. So all the documentation was already available, and you only had to ask the question. So it's a huge time saver. And the thing I said about projects, ChatGPT projects, it's a workspace about one specific topic. And you can have multiple conversations within the same context. And the information, chat history are all linked. There's a question from Art. Is there significant pushback from our consumers towards businesses embracing AI? Well, that's an interesting one. We can discuss that at the end, but I would say, how do people know you use AI? I've been creating plant photos for a while. If I throw 10 plant photos to you and ask you to pick the real one, every one of you will pick a different one. So it's just, if you do it right, it's extremely hard to know if something's AI generated. In general, I think most people just want to get an answer on the question. If it's a human, fine. If it's a chatbot, fine. If it's a website, fine. If it's AI generated, fine. I just need an answer on my question. A sample in your world, because you're not selling your business every year, you can upload all the legal documents from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, regulations, label requirements, provincial information. Then you have your own legal policy Q&A. You can just ask questions about legal things around products you're selling, just as an example. There was a lot of information. We're not done yet. But yeah, there was always one thing I was dreaming about in the past, and I really wanted to be a pop singer. And hopefully you guys recognize this handsome lad. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's Eddie Mercury. I always wanted to be a singer. Yeah, but I couldn't sing, so there was a practical problem. But lucky enough, in today's day and age, everyone can be a singer, a songwriter, or a producer. So I created a little song for you. I hope it works. But I put the lyrics on it because the video and the song didn't synchronize well. But give it a go. I hope it works. Hopefully someone in the chat can confirm it's working. Oh.
Snow still on the parking lot, but inside feels like June. Tulips lining tidy roads, color in a glass cocoon. Seeing name tags on coffee cups and muddy shoes. Laughter by the hanging ferns, everyone comparing views. Easter in the greenhouse, Canada still going out. We're walking between the benches, talking hope, talking spouse. Easter in the greenhouse, future humming in the aisles. We're planning more than perennials, planning questions, planning smiles. Dutch last names on the sign, stories from another shore.
It's pretty easy to generate this song. You can see the name over here. It's generated with Suno. Works like a charm. You give it 3 words and it generates a text. I can really recommend to play around with Suno. It's free up till a certain number of songs a day. Really good for socials, presentations, and otherwise friends and families. Another thing you can do with audio is with Wondercraft. So with Wondercraft, you just give it a URL. So I gave it the Peace Lily of Garden Retreat in Calgary, and it generates the commercial. Now I didn't see that anyone said I can't hear it, so I assume everyone can hear the audio correctly. So let's listen to the first part of this audio commercial. And remember, the only thing I gave was the link to the Spetterfilm page on the Garden Retreat website.
Looking for an easy-to-keep houseplant? Our Peace Lilies are just that. Brighten up your home with the Peace Lily at Garden Retreat for just $14.95. We're your greenhouse experts since 1991, offering organic plants and fertilizers, open 7 days a week at 1A Street in Calgary. Visit us today for your Peace Lily.
It's not bad, is it? It took like 3 seconds to generate this ad. Another thing you can do with AI is to actually transform your online reviews into something more actionable. But let me explain this. We all get a lot of reviews on Google Maps, Google Places. If you want to, you can read them, makes sense, but it's pretty hard to figure out what you actually need to do based on those reviews because everyone's going to give different comments. So what I did, the first version of this blog post was written by myself in September. I updated it a few times since. But what you can do, you can download your reviews. There's a tool called exportcomments.com to do that. I think it's free up to 100 reviews. Above that, you need to pay, I don't know, $10 or something. So you download your reviews and you ask for a sentiment analysis. Now, guess what? The sentiment analysis, the prompt for that, I asked ChatGPT to generate it. And then I specifically said, I need feedback for each individual department. So tropicals, outdoor plants, garden tools, customer service, checkout. And then I asked for actionable feedback for each department. So not just the things that went well, because things that are going well, you can vet it back to the team. Everyone likes to know what's going well, especially if you're the owner of the store. Tell your team what's going well, what people like, all fine. But also the things you can do to improve. And just some things I figured out for one of our customers. Well, there was a lack of variety in stock of Christmas items. Could be something to work on. Customer service too busy during weekends. This is a comment, I won't say you can find at every garden center, but comes close to it. Suggestion to have more events and workshops. That's a good one. So this is helpful to improve your business. And to give you an idea, I mentioned Dutch Growers before. If you look at the Dutch Growers, I made this analysis last year. So out of the 182 reviews, average rating was 4.6. 42 of these reviews were about the customer service, and the customer service was below par. So it was a rating of 3.9 compared to 4.6. So things people liked, well, helpful and friendly, all fine. Product knowledge was fine, and the return policy was good. Okay. However, there was some inconsistent information about services. Well, usually that's a staff training thing. Everyone needs to know this is the return policy, this is the delivery policy, and so on. Unprofessional attitude. Okay, everyone can have a bad day, but ideally not in your business. And well, there we are, the long wait times. Told you they would come back a few times. So these are things you can take to the team. This is going well. And we need to, well, especially on this one, inconsistent information, that's something you can fix. Simple. Just be clear to the team members, new ones, and the ones who've been working for you for a while, just to reconfirm the guidelines about services. Simple, yet very helpful to improve your business. I wrote an article about this, but not everyone likes to read, or we have to be honest, can read. Now, what are we looking at over here? This is Notebook LM. I tried to get it fully English, but the translate button didn't work. So sorry for the Dutch words. I appreciate some of you will understand it anyway. The Notebook LM is a tool provided by Google. You upload a range of documents. So you can see on the left-hand side that I uploaded my article, AI reviews, and some text. I just copy pasted some other text. So these are the two sources. The good thing about Notebook LM, you can add, well, I won't say hundreds of PDFs, but you can add a lot of PDF files. Then it generates a chat box in the middle. And this chat box works exactly like ChatGPT, but it's a Q&A of your documents. So you can already see the suggestion. So it's a summary you can see on top, and then it says, hey, how do I create professional AI generated responses to reviews? So it's going to help you to have a chat about the document. Oh, fine. The reason why I brought it up was not to have a chat, was to have an audio overview. Because there's a link over here, audio. If you click on that link, it will give you an audio summary of the document. So especially for people who can't or just don't like to read, this is helpful. I use this often when I need to digest some long emails or something. I just put the emails on Notebook LM. I ask Notebook LM to give me the summary, and then I'm in the car listening to the summary rather than reading the emails. I'm not reading emails in the car, by the way. The other thing you can do, and this is especially handy for those of you with kids at school, there's another option, which is well, it's either the flashcard or the quiz. And if you click on quiz, for example, it will generate a multiple choice quiz based on the document. Well, that's very helpful for training. So we were having just a chat before the webinar started. I was having a chat with Art and Lisa, and Art mentioned there's a training program for new people entering the industry in Ontario, provided by Landscape Ontario, which is great. I can envision there's a lot of documentation involved. Put the documentation on Notebook LM, generate a quiz. You can self-quiz and check if you understand the information. Just as an example, which tool does the author recommend for businesses to export? Well, whatever. So this is the kind of quiz you get from Notebook LM. And I think Notebook is a very, very powerful tool if you want to learn something or if you want to translate documents into audio. So give it a try. It's partly free if you have a paid Google environment. So if you use the paid Gmail, it's included in your subscription. One of the things I did in the past was to generate the chatbot for Lacoste Garden Center. Lacoste is based in Winnipeg. And he said, yeah, I'm always getting the same questions for customers. Can you make a chatbot? So I made a proof of concept. So this was live for like a month, a chatbot with clear boundaries. only help people with blunt questions. We're not going to fix the world problems. So yeah, we're not going to answer those questions. So I created the chatbot. And as I mentioned before, ChatGPT and those LLMs do know a lot about plants, but not enough to simply create the chatbot. So I created an Excel file with 60,000 plants or plant data of 60,000 plants. And I give very clear instructions on the back end. And then it works. So if you ask, well, how to prune Monstera, it gave the information. I think the information was correct on this one. And also good, remember to wear gloves because it can cause skin irritation. So this worked. I rarely see chatbots on websites of garden centers, but I think it can be very, very helpful. There was a proof of concept, so I know what it did. I know how it works, but we never really turned it into a service we were offering to garden centers. But yeah, it's an idea. Okay, we discussed a lot of text. We discussed some music, photos. Yeah, Gen Z, the future or the new customers stepping into garden centers are very visual, so they don't like to read. Plants are visual too. So I would say a match made in heaven. So I created the video for you. And the input for the video was all AI generated. So we have like a zillion spectacular photos. We have text, we have blog posts. And there are multiple tools to generate photos or videos, sorry. One of the tools I like is Creatify. Creatify. If you Google that, you will find it. You just combine photos, text, and images, and it will generate a social media ready video. So well, let's grab a coffee and wait. Why do we grab a coffee and wait? Well, first of all, generating video takes time, but we also need to talk about the downside of AI. And that's in line with Artist's question. Is there pushback from people, well, towards businesses embracing AI? Could be, I don't know. Is AI dangerous? Well, this is a question that was asked, I think it was 2023, when news outlets said, hey, tech leaders push to pause giant AI experiments. And of course, Elon was one of them, but also Mark Zuckerberg, some scientists. There was one problem. Most people who said, let's put this on a hold, were people already having an AI model. So let's imagine we started with Henry Ford. Oh, this is extremely powerful. We need to stop developing cars. Yeah, okay, small detail. I can already do it, but yeah. Let's say BlackBerry, if I'm not mistaken, from origin, a Canadian company, said late 1990s. Oh, those phones, we need to stop developing them because if we continue on this path, everyone at the bus stop will look down. We're not talking to each other anymore. In trains, everyone is looking like a zombie to a screen. And if you look around on the street, you can only see the top of people's head because they always bow forward. Well, actually, that's the world we're living in. But let's say BlackBerry wanted to stop development of phones. That would have been odd, wouldn't it? Because they already had the mobile phone. So is AI dangerous? Could be. Depends on what you want to do with it. Then decision making. I mentioned to you that developers have a role still in the decision making process. Now let's imagine I'm with my family in the car and we're driving like 150, maybe a little bit too fast, but the car is a self-driving car, so I'm not doing anything. There's not even a steering wheel in the car anymore. But we're going to crash. So we either hit the concrete block of the road, but we can also steer to the left, or the AI can steer to the left. One problem, 5 people passing. So those 5 people will die. Well, this is a complicated decision for an AI model. But a developer can say, whatever happens, keep the people in the car safe. That would be valid in my opinion, because I'm paying to drive in that car. So the least I can expect from the car is that it keeps me safe. So the developer can say, whatever happens, keep the passengers safe. Makes sense from the car producer, from the buyer, from me, makes sense. And it's hard to argue about that. The other thing you could say from a more societal level, say no, it should be fair. So yes, Edwin is paying the car company. He should rely on it. It should be safe. But yeah, he's driving. So if the car has to choose that innocent people die or the family dies, Edwin's family dies. Well, this is a very tough question if you make it black and white, but these are exactly the things developers are deciding in today's age, because there's not a lot of regulation yet. So this is a big problem, AI and ethics. I can't solve it. I don't have the answer, although I hope if this is the situation, I would always choose for myself and my family. So let's go left, see what happens. But yeah, this is a complicated one. So AI and ethics is a minefield. Interesting one, AI in the environment. I spotted this one on the CBC website the other day. And this is a conversation going on in the Netherlands as well, the true cost of AI data centers. No one likes concrete data centers next door. I think in Canada you have plenty of space, but in the Netherlands it's crowded over here. So no one likes them. However, no one likes data centers in general. After this meeting, if you drive to a supplier, you put on Google Maps, that's internet. And if there's internet involved, there's a data center involved. For me, it's almost, well, dinner time, and then we're going to watch Netflix. Netflix is internet. Internet needs a data center. So with all the things we were doing before AI entered our life, those data centers were required anyway. AI needs more data centers. I get it, but yeah, it's something that was already there before AI came. So AI in the environment, yes, this is a problem, but it's not just AI causing the problem. And perhaps people use AI to solve problems as well. So for me, this is the biggest challenge. School kids bullying each other with AI-generated news. So my daughter is 2 months now, so I don't have to worry about this yet. But in 13 to 14 years time, I need to start worrying about this. And this is the real issue. So people bullying each other with, well, not necessarily nudes, but AI-generated photos. And if you're 14 years old, you're uncertain about friends, your body, about life in general. So this could be devastating. There are plenty of examples. Well, another thing, some people are worried. When will AI become, well, smarter than people, than humans? The CEO of Anthropic said, well, this will happen next year. We'll see if this happens next year. Yeah, but we're getting close to singularity, as this is called. One of you asked a question. My manager has unrealistic expectations about AI. Yeah, that's a good one. But AI is not the holy grail. AI is a useful tool. And I always compare AI with Microsoft Word, for example. When Word came, everyone thought, oh, we're going to save so much time and whatever. Word is a great tool if you know how to use it. So first of all, you need to know how to use AI. But you also need to understand it's not easy. And the thing I said, we have a process where we have 25 steps to generate a proper, factually correct text about the plant. One plant, 25 steps, approximately. So if you have a few thousand plants, yeah, that will take ages to figure out. So ChatGPT is a good assistant, but it's just like your colleague. But it's your colleague in your mobile phone. So it's always there. It will make mistakes every now and then. In a garden center industry, I don't see people are being replaced. If you're a software developer, you have a problem, but that's a different topic. Worldwide benefits. Before we move on to the movie, well, scanning farm fields for weeds saves a lot of pesticides. I think we can all agree that's helpful. You can process MRI scans to identify cancer, helpful. There's a pilot in the Netherlands where robots are introduced in care homes to combat loneliness. Guess what? It works. Yes, it's not personal. Yes, people feel less lonely. And it's more about the goal than about the process, I would say. So there's more AI can do than making, well, fun or plant photos. Um, well, 2 minutes late, so let's see what kind of movie we created in the meantime.
In a world where everything moves fast, we love bringing peace to your home with the spathiphyllum. With its serene appearance, this beautiful plant is the centerpiece of tranquility. The peace lily is an easy houseplant that thrives in any room. With its elegant flowers and leaves that purify the air in your home, the peace lily is more than just a houseplant. Caring for it is very simple. You can trim off brown flowers and water it when the leaves start to droop. Originally, the spathiphyllum comes from the deep jungles of Colombia. But today, we source these peace lilies from our own local nursery. You can find a full range of spathiphyllum plants in our garden center. By the way, I'm fake because I'm David Attenborough, and I don't talk a lot about houseplants. Everything in this video was fake too, but Edwin presenting this webinar was real. On behalf of him as well, thank you for joining today, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much for joining.
In a world...
Let's go to the last slide. There we are. Thanks for joining. Follow the real me on LinkedIn. Send me the email. And I'm also happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Not a question from me, Edwin, but
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you very much. That was really interesting, and it far exceeded what I was hoping to hear out of this. So that was really good.
Thank you. Getting started is always the hard point, and a lot of people are packed with ideas. But the best tip, get a paid ChatGPT account, so your data is secure. And with everything you do, ask ChatGPT for guidance. So don't figure out the prompt yourself. Just tell ChatGPT, oh, I want to write an email to a complaining customer. Can you give me a prompt for the style and the tone of voice? Then you create a custom GPT. And then the custom GPT can be used to just copy paste the upcoming 500 emails. And often people say, yeah, but how do I create a custom GPT? Well, guess what? Open ChatGPT. How to create a custom GPT, it will help you. What will you suggest to people if ChatGPT goes bankrupt in 2027, as has been written recently? Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I gave you there are many reasons why I showed you the technical revolutions. If there's a big bang, if a new technology erupts, there are winners and losers. I think from the train companies that started 200 years ago in the US, maybe one is still alive. Maybe, I don't know, after 10 mergers or something. If ChatGPT goes bankrupt, it doesn't mean AI goes away. It has always been that way. When the dot-com bubble burst in 2001, many companies vanished. They're gone. But we still have, based on or built upon the ruins of the dot-com crisis, we had Facebook, we had Google, and many other well-known names in today's age. So I wouldn't be worried for a single second when ChatGPT goes bankrupt. Because we still have Anthropic, we still have Gemini, we still have all the other models. I don't care. We have winners and losers. That's the whole point of a new technology that erupts. And no one knows what will happen in 3 months from now. In the field of AI, no one knows what will happen in 12 months from now. Is OpenAI always doing the best things? No. Does it work for people like you and me? Yes. Question from Kara. Hope you pronounce your name properly. Apologies if I don't. With ChatGPT products, if you have a team accessing and utilizing information and sharing info, how do you keep the content private? You mentioned free use and putting in emails will put it into open training domain. Yeah, two things. If you have documentation that should be used by an AI model, let's say ChatGPT, but you don't want to share it literally with coworkers, it's best to create a custom GPT because the custom GPT can be used by other people but not edited. And with projects, I'm not 100% sure, but I guess people can access the source of the files in that case. The problem in general, let's say you have like a contract of employment, you generate that with ChatGPT, but you leave out the name, the wage, and the other terms of the contract to keep it anonymous because you don't want to have that on an AI model. I get it. You create a contract, you put it in Word, you save it, and you email it to the new team member. But if the new team member is using a free email account, it's pretty likely that the provider of that email account will use that email to train the AI model because free, yeah, if it's free, you're the product. So it's just extremely hard to keep things out of an AI model. It's extremely hard. You're welcome. You also have to wonder what's the if it's a problem. I know if you have digital communication with at least in the Netherlands with your GP, so your local doctor or hospital, they send you a link to a portal, then you need to log in on the portal, and there you can actually read the message. Makes sense because it's extremely sensitive, what you're mostly talking about. But a regular contract of employment, you can just ask ChatGPT for one, it will give you one. It already knows how to work, so there's nothing, yeah. I would say there's not much to hide in that respective, apart from personal details, of course.
Thank you very much. This has been extremely informative. I've learned a few things and would like to try a few things out there. So that's really cool.
Welcome.
We will also have a copy of this presentation on our when it becomes available. I'll email it out to everybody, and will be up on our website as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for
Anything-
joining. I hope you have a busy day ahead, and I wish you a good weekend.